So last time in part one, we discussed ideology. And ideology leads to the belief that we are right and someone else must be wrong. It's not just religious people who become ideological. It's not just politicians who become ideological. Humans become ideological. Humans are ideological. You see this easily in news television shows where a television program producer will invite two people to come on their show and they'll debate an issue. And it seems as though the person who yells the loudest is the one who wins. Well, you can see how this is some kind of verbal violence. And the problem with verbal violence is that it can't be contained. This is the problem with violence in general. You can't contain it. You can't channel it in a certain direction. It ends up imploding on you. Verbal violence can't be contained. It leads to more forms of violence. It leads to either more verbal violence or it leads to physical violence. Violence brings frustration and escalation of violence. This is what happens. We end up modeling the need to be right to one another, which means nobody will accept being wrong. And so this violence just escalates. Now, what I love about the Bible is that it reveals how this happens. You've heard of the apocalypse. Well, apocalyptic literature is not about the end of the world. It means an unveiling. It means it's a warning. It means if you continue to do this, here's what's going to happen. If you continue to be violent with one another, verbally, emotionally, physically violent with one another, here's what's going to happen. And what'll happen is you'll end up destroying yourselves. You'll end up killing yourselves. This is where we get the warning of Armageddon, the end of the world. This destruction, this violence that culminates in the end of the world. So, apocalypse is a warning about our own ideology, our own need to be right over and against another. Now, what's so great about the Bible is that it not only reveals this, it also shows the way out of this destructive pattern. And you see it in the book of Leviticus where it says to love your neighbor. You see it when Jesus starts talking about loving your enemies as you love yourself. This is not about being right. This is about love. And I don't mean an emotional, good feeling towards another. I mean practices. I mean practical reality of love, providing for the needs of one another. I mean forgiving one another for whatever wrong somebody has done to us. I think Jesus actually means loving your enemies in these practical ways. And these practical ways seem so impossible to us. Because we get caught up in this modeling of behavior of needing to be right over and against another, which results to violence. It seems so impossible to us to actually love someone whom we call our enemies, which is why we need prayer. This is what prayer is all about. Prayer is not about manipulating God in order to do something for us. Prayer is about opening ourselves to what seems to be impossible. Opening ourselves to the possibility that God might transform us, that God might actually manipulate us so that we might build our communities not on violence, but on loving one another. This is what the church is all about. This is what is so crucial, that the church be the church and model this kind of community to the world. So, those are my thoughts on ideology and apocalypse. Love to hear what you have to say. Thanks.